If my ex were here, he would have bought me a diamond ring, she sighed, holding the ring I had carefully saved up to buy for her. My heart broke. I'm 32, work as a software engineer in Minneapolis, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I was about to propose to the woman I'd spend my life with. Her name was Cassandra, though everyone called her Cass. We'd been together for 5 years, living together in a downtown apartment for the last 3, and I'd been saving for 10 months to buy her the perfect engagement ring. I should have seen the signs earlier. Maybe I did and just chose to ignore them. This wasn't my first rodeo with serious relationships. I'd been engaged once before, back when I was 27, but that fell apart when my ex cheated. Since then, I'd been more cautious, more deliberate. At 32, I don't have time for games or casual dating. Most of my friends are married with kids now, some on their second child already. The pressure isn't just internal anymore, it's social reality. I was looking for someone to build a life with, someone who saw a future the same way I did. Cass had always been the type to talk about her past relationships, but it seemed normal at first. We're adults, we have history. Her most serious ex before me was Bradford, some finance guy who made serious money and had expensive taste. They dated for 2.5 years before he moved to New York for work. She always said it ended amicably, that timing just wasn't right. But over the past 8 months, Bradford's name started coming up more frequently. Bradford took me to this amazing steakhouse downtown. Bradford's firm just went public. Bradford always said I looked incredible in emerald green. The comparisons were subtle but constant, like background music you don't notice until someone points it out. I mentioned it to my younger brother Quinn during one of our weekly calls. Quinn had recently gotten engaged to his girlfriend of 3 years, so he understood the territory. At 28, he was younger but smart about relationships. "Dude, that's concerning," he said. "Sarah never talks about her exes like that. Why is Cass constantly bringing up Bradford?" "I don't know. Maybe she's just comfortable sharing her past with me. Or maybe she's not over him," Quinn said bluntly. "When you're truly ready to move forward, you don't keep looking backward. Trust me, I learned that the hard way." I brushed it off. Quinn meant well, but he'd only been in 2 serious relationships. What did he know about the complexity of long-term dating when you're past 30 and everyone around you is settling down? The ring shopping happened in October. I'd been researching for months, comparing settings, studying diamond grades, reading reviews on Reddit and jewelry forums. I wanted something elegant but substantial, something that would make Cass's eyes light up when she saw it. After weeks of looking, I found it at a jeweler in uptown Minneapolis. A platinum band with a round, brilliant cut diamond, classic but with modern touches. It cost me $6,500, essentially 1 month's take-home pay after taxes and my 401k contribution. I picked it up on a Tuesday evening after work, heart pounding the entire drive back to our apartment. We were splitting the $2,200 rent, but I'd been covering about 70% since my promotion last year. The extra income helped, but I was also putting money aside for a house down payment. At this stage of life, every financial decision felt like it carried more weight. I hid the ring in my dresser, already planning the proposal. I was thinking Christmas morning, maybe at the overlook by the Mississippi where we'd had one of our first meaningful conversations. That Saturday, Cass and I were having coffee in our living room. She was scrolling through Instagram while I caught up on work emails. Comfortable silence, the kind you develop after years together. Then she let out this long, wistful sigh. I looked up from my laptop. "What's wrong?" "Nothing really." She smiled, but something was off. "Just looking at engagement announcements." She showed me her phone. It was a post from some college friend showing off a massive diamond ring. The woman looked ecstatic, her fiancé beaming beside her. "That's beautiful," I said. "Yeah." Another sigh. She set her phone down and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "You know, Bradford proposed to his girlfriend last month. I saw it on LinkedIn. The ring was stunning. Probably cost 30 grand knowing him." My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice neutral. Good for him. He always had impeccable taste. She was still looking at me, and I felt like I was being evaluated against some invisible standard. When we were together, he surprised me with these incredible sapphire earrings for our anniversary. Custom designed. I sometimes wonder what kind of ring he would have chosen if we'd stayed together. I didn't know what to say, so I stayed quiet. She laughed, this small, almost melancholy sound. "Sorry, I'm being weird. I just think it's romantic when someone really goes all out, you know? Shows they understand what's important to you. Right, I said quietly. The conversation moved on, but something fundamental had shifted. I felt sick. Here I was, thinking about proposing to someone who was openly wondering what her ex would have done differently. At 32, I'd learned to pay attention to red flags instead of making excuses for them. The following Wednesday, I came home from work to find Cass reorganizing our bedroom. She'd apparently decided to clean out my dresser drawers while doing laundry. "Hey, you don't need to do that," I said from the doorway. "It's fine, I was just—" She paused, holding something small in her hand. The ring box. "What's this?" My heart stopped. She opened it before I could respond. Her expression went from curious to surprised to something I couldn't identify. She stared at the ring for what felt like an eternity. "Is this for me?" I swallowed hard. This wasn't how I'd planned it. No romantic setting, no speech prepared. "Yeah, I was going to propose on Christmas morning." She took the ring out of the box, held it up to the window light, examined it carefully. The silence stretched on forever. Then she said it. "If Bradford were here, he would have bought me a diamond ring." She was still looking at the ring, the diamond ring I'd bought her, when she said it. I felt something crack inside my chest. "That is a diamond ring," I said slowly. "I mean, a bigger one, a better one." She glanced at me, and there was something in her eyes. Disappointment. Bradford would have understood what I really wanted. He would have known to make more of a statement. I couldn't breathe. I'd spent nearly a year's worth of discretionary income on that ring. 10 months of careful budgeting, skipping dinners out, avoiding unnecessary purchases. "I know, and it's sweet, really," she continued, looking at the ring again. "It's just, I always imagined something more substantial, you know? Something that would really show how serious this is. Bradford understood that about me." I stood there, frozen, as she set the ring back in the box and placed it on the dresser. "We could look at other options if you want," she said, like she was doing me a favor. "Maybe save up a bit more?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just walked over, picked up the ring box, and closed it. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I'm returning it." "Wait, Jordan, don't be dramatic. I didn't mean— You said my ring wasn't good enough. You said Bradford would have done better." My voice was calm, which surprised me. "So, I'm returning it." "Jordan, come on, I was just being honest. Isn't that what we do? Be honest with each other?" I looked at her, really looked at her. "Yeah, honestly, Cass, if this ring isn't good enough, then I'm not good enough. And I'm done trying to compete with Bradford." Her face went pale. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "I just wanted something special." "I thought it was special," I said quietly. "I spent 10 months researching and saving. I picked this because I thought you'd love it." "I do love it. I just—" "No, you don't. You love the idea of what Bradford would have bought you." I put the ring box in my pocket. "I need to go." "Where are you going?" "To return this, like you suggested." I left before she could say anything else. The jewelry store was closed by the time I got there, so I drove around Minneapolis for 2 hours, processing everything. The familiar streets felt different somehow, like I was seeing them through new eyes. When I finally came back to the apartment, Cass was on the couch, her eyes red. "Can we talk about this?" she asked. "There's nothing to talk about." "Jordan, please, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that." "Which part? The part where you compared me to Bradford, or the part where you told me my ring wasn't good enough?" She flinched. "Both. All of it. I'm sorry." "Are you sorry you said it, or sorry you think it?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. I slept on the couch that night. She tried to talk to me 3 more times over the next 2 days, but I couldn't do it. Every time I looked at her, I heard her voice. If Bradford were here, he would have bought me a diamond ring. Friday morning, I returned the ring during my lunch break. The jeweler gave me most of my money back, minus a restocking fee. I stared at the check for a long time, before depositing it into my savings account. That money was going toward a house down payment now. At least something positive would come from this disaster. That evening, Cass was waiting for me when I got home. "Did you really return it?" she asked quietly. "Yeah." "Jordan," her voice broke. "Why would you do that?" "Because you didn't want it." "That's not true. I was just surprised and said something stupid without thinking. You compared me to Bradford. I interrupted. You looked at something I spent months planning and told me your ex would have done better. Do you have any idea how that felt? Tears were streaming down her face now. I'm so sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Please, can we get past this? I don't think we can. What are you saying? I'm saying I can't marry someone who's still in love with her ex. I'm not in love with him. You sure act like it. You talk about him constantly. You compare everything I do to what he would have done. And when I try to propose, you tell me he would have bought you a better ring. I shook my head. I can't compete with a ghost, Cass. I won't. She was sobbing now. Please don't do this. I love you. Only you. If that were true, Bradford's name wouldn't come out of your mouth every other week. I started packing my things. We'd both signed the lease, but I made more money and had been covering most of the expenses anyway. I told her I'd keep paying my share until she found a roommate or decided to move. She followed me around the apartment, crying, begging, promising to change. I'll never mention him again, she said desperately. I'll block him on everything. Please, Jordan, don't leave. It's too late. It's not. We can fix this. But we couldn't. The damage was done. Every time I looked at her, I'd see her holding that ring with disappointment in her eyes. I'd hear her wishing it was from someone else. I stayed with Quinn and his fiancée, Sarah, for a week while I found a new place. A one-bedroom apartment in northeast Minneapolis, smaller than what I was used to, but it was mine. No comparisons to past relationships. No competing with someone who wasn't even there. Quinn was supportive, but direct. You did the right thing, man, he said, while helping me move my stuff. At our age, you can't waste time on someone who doesn't appreciate what you bring to the table. Sarah nodded in. Agreement. If my boyfriend was constantly talking about his ex like that, I'd have ended it months ago. You have more patience than I do. Their validation helped, but it wasn't why I'd made the decision. I'd made it because I finally understood my own worth. Cass called and texted constantly for the first week. Long messages about how sorry she was, how she'd made a terrible mistake, how she wanted to fix things. I didn't respond. At 32, I'd learned that some mistakes reveal fundamental incompatibilities that can't be fixed with apologies. Then, about 10 days after I moved out, she sent a voice message. I almost deleted it without listening, but something made me hit play. She was crying. Jordan, please just talk to me. This is insane. You threw away 5 years over one stupid comment. I said I was sorry. I don't understand why you won't even give me a chance to make this right. You're being cruel. Do you even care about what this is doing to me? I thought you loved me. I thought we were building a life together. How can you just walk away like this? I deleted it halfway through and blocked her number. The following week, Quinn called with an update. So Sarah ran into Cass at Target yesterday. Oh yeah? She looked rough, apparently. Asked Sarah to talk to you, begged her to convince you to call. Sarah told her that wasn't happening. Good. There's more. Sarah said she kept going on about how Bradford would never have treated her like this. Even while asking Sarah to help get you back, she was still comparing you to him. I wasn't surprised. Some people never learn. 3 weeks after the breakup, I ran into Cass's best friend Isabel at the grocery store near my new apartment. We'd always gotten along, but she looked uncomfortable when she saw me. Hey, Jordan. Hey. Awkward pause. Listen, she said finally. I know it's not my place, but Cass is really struggling with this. I'm sure she is. She made a mistake, a big one. But don't you think you're being a little harsh? I set down the box of pasta I was holding. Did she tell you what happened? The whole story? She said you proposed and then took it back over something she said. That's not quite accurate. I told her everything. The months of Bradford comparisons, the comment about the ring, all of it. Isabel's expression changed as I talked. By the end, she looked troubled. I didn't know about all the Bradford stuff, she said quietly. She left that part out. Yeah, well, now you know. She nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I think you made the right call. If my boyfriend was constantly talking about his ex like that, I'd lose it too. Thanks. We said goodbye, and I finished my shopping. As I was loading groceries into my car, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You broke her heart. I stared at it for a moment, then blocked the number. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, another text from a different number. She loved you and you threw it away? Like it meant nothing. The harassment continued for 3 days. Different numbers, same basic message. Cass had clearly recruited her friends to guilt me into coming back. Finally, I sent one reply to the most recent number. Tell Cass if she wants to talk to me, she can call Bradford. I'm sure he'd love to hear from her. Then I changed my number entirely. Quinn thought it was brutal when I told him. Dude, that's ice cold. She earned it. It's been 2 months now. I heard through mutual friends that Cass actually did reach out to Bradford after my suggestion, but he's married with a kid on the way and wasn't interested in rekindling anything. Apparently, she didn't take the rejection well. I should feel bad. Part of me does. But mostly I just feel relieved. I took the money from the returned ring and added it to my house fund. I'm pre-approved for a mortgage now and looking at places in the suburbs. Good school districts. Not because I'm planning kids immediately, but because I'm planning for a future with someone who'll actually want to build it with me. Last week I went on a coffee date with Miranda, a 29-year-old architect I met through a work friend. We talked for 3 hours, and not once did she mention an ex-boyfriend. When I told her about my job, she asked thoughtful questions instead of comparing me to someone else. When I mentioned looking at houses, she got excited about the neighborhoods I was considering. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but it was refreshing, natural. This morning, I saw that Cass had unblocked me on social media. She posted a long caption about knowing your worth and not settling for less than you deserve. The irony wasn't lost on me. I didn't like or comment. I just kept scrolling. Here's what I learned. Love shouldn't be a competition. The person you're with shouldn't make you feel like you're constantly measuring up to someone who came before. And if they do, if they can't see your value because they're too busy looking backward, then they don't deserve what you're offering. I spent 10 months savings on a ring for someone who wished it came from somebody else. I'll never make that mistake again. And honestly, I'm better for it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.